I'm about to tell you a story. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Fact or fiction, doesn't matter. It's all how I tell it. We play at fulltiltpoker.com.
Diego Cordovez,
Adam Schoenfeld.
welcome to a special edition of The Scoop,
Perhaps the most special.
live, virtually live from Harrah's for the World Series of Poker. Our buddy Jeff Shulman has made the November 9.
Correct.
And
One of the greatest moments of my life, akin to giving birth.
I mean, that in itself is enough to talk about, but in addition there have been controversial, colorful statements that we want to
Diego?
get the real scoop about.
This is my Rolex Daytona, the most coveted watch in motorsports. Since Jeff's made the final 9, I throw it in the garbage. Jeffrey Pollock, that's just a hint of what could be.
Alright, let's get on with it. So you realize in the 2000s, the aughts, this decade, so to speak, 3 people have made 2 main event final tables. Dan Harrington and Mike Matizow, and now you. And those guys didn't win the main event, which you still got a shot to do.
Well, I hope I have a shot.
That's big.
Those guys are so much better than I am, but I'm glad to be in the same group as them.
I mean, that's big.
Let's stop with this humility.
False humility. Yesterday you were like, I'm better than Ivy, I'm better than...
Well, I'm better than Ivy, but all the other guys are better than me.
But you are a gifted deep stack player, which I've been saying for years, and now I'm finally getting my due, because this is your 3rd time in the main event beyond 4 tables left, and well beyond 4 tables left. You've cashed in the World Poker Tour Championship the 25,000 4 times. What, you played 5 times?
About.
Yeah.
I think you guys know the results
I mean,
better than I do.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing
You
is,
play deep stack,
we're
baby.
hyping you up, but this is big, and you also had a 31st place finish. I mean, it was a little complicated the way you were putting it, but yeah, 31st place finish and these 2. You're like beyond 4 tables. I'm always beyond 4 tables. I was at 200 tables.
Right,
when
we
I
started
knocked
with 5
out.
tables.
You know, the way that
I don't brag about
the correct
that
thing is Diego's never beyond day 1.
But this is big.
And I didn't have any clue that it would go like this. I left Seattle the day before the championship, kind of flew in the morning. I told my wife I'd see her, Christy. I was like, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Believe me, I'm going to be playing fast.
Yeah, you're playing like
and I
scheduled, like for the next day.
I've been playing poorly, in my opinion, for the last couple years, just by not playing. And this was just such a shock that what I witnessed. And I really wasn't that I was playing fabulous. I was just watching the other people not play so well.
What you call poor play is the optimal play for this event. Because
Right.
there are so many bad players. In other words, poor play because you're not squeezing out every
Yeah, but I
value
don't do that
band.
typically. But I'm talking about certain plays that I missed a lot of value bets on the river. One of your specialties, Diego, is making sure you can squeeze people for a couple extra dollars on the river.
I thought one of the
so-
specialties was the check call.
Right.
That too.
But I could have probably had like an extra 3 or 4 million
Right.
by having some value bets. But then again, I could have been check raised and blown off the hands.
But
and-
you don't need to because
And you
guys are
could've been
moving out
broke.
of you with ace jacks, and they're putting all their money in with 5 high flushes on paired boards against guys that haven't made a move all day. I mean, I say that from watching yesterday down to 2 tables where there's this enormous money jump. I mean,
It was
it's
300,000.
300,000 plus all the equity of being at the final table, the November 9, and guys are still just playing like a Sunday mulligan.
When it
you
was
know?
12-handed, I was concerned that we were going to be there for 7 more hours because there were a lot. The stacks were still deep. Even the short guys had plenty of play. 25 big blinds, 20 big blinds, more. And all of a sudden, you broke a guy who decided to call your all-in when he had ace-jack.
Right,
which
is
is
the
insane.
4th time in the tournament
Like,
that I was against some guy.
I don't
that
think you've
wanted to
ever
bust
had
with an
worse than
ace-jack.
ace-jack there in your
Right,
life.
not in like a real tournament. And people
on the-
just don't understand that I'm tight.
On the
which is
previous
funny.
on the previous day when we were watching, you got it all in with ace king twice, and both times the other guy had king queen. I mean, you can't ask for more.
Yeah, I didn't even play King Queen this entire World Series.
Now in November you might bring it out as a special
The King Queen?
surprise. Yeah,
Well, one of the reasons I didn't play it was because I never had it. And
Right.
that's
really,
luck,
those
too.
are the hands, like the King Queens, the Queen Jacks, the King Jacks that really get Ace Jacks, get you in trouble.
Yeah, and they did get people in trouble.
You had really good table assignments the past few days, at least. Not meaning that there weren't good players at your table, but the good players that were there were either calm or to your right, and there were other tables that were much harder from what I saw.
Mm-hmm. Well, the first few days I felt like my tables were softer than they should have been. The first day we had probably 2 people that never played before, 2 of the seats were empty, so a couple people got busted, and all of a sudden I'm playing like 5-handed with some beginners, which made it pretty simple.
Yeah,
And I guess they saved one of the seats for some celebrity that was going to come in, because that's how they like to do it.
right.
Right.
Someone who had to sign up in time,
Yeah, like,
but
you know, our spade clubbers are getting shut out, but
right.
you know, if you're a celebrity, you're able to get in, or some.
If you're
poker
some
stuff.
After
celebrity.
registration's closed,
Right.
yes.
You know, like a C-lister.
Yeah.
But after that, I really had clear and sailing for 2 or 3 days, and then my first tough table, I believe I was at a television table with Elke to my left, and I remember I really don't care who's at my table. I have a couple people. I've never done well against Gus. And I was just thinking, with all the people left, I really didn't want Phil Ivey or Elke to my left. And
Right. Bertrand
they're like,
Gros-Bellier is gonna
Elke's
be-
to your left, and I don't even know who he is. All I know is that
He wins every big tournament.
he wins
Yeah,
every
he's
big
great.
tournament. Yeah, it's
And
amazing.
He
he
wins
had
all
a
the
big
high
stack
rollers
also.
and
Not
that's-
only was he to Jeff's left, he had a big stack.
He'd been
he
the
had
chip
Jeff
leader the
covered.
entire tournament.
And if he's in one of those modes where he's re-raising you every time you enter a pot, it's going to be trouble. Except for whatever reason, the cards, something about the table makeup, he was calm that day.
Well,
But he's
early-
been calm every day, and I was talking to him, and just, I assume since he's been on TV and he's been ultra aggressive and shown some weak hands, that he's smart enough to change his play and
Right.
Yeah.
adapt with these people that think he's bluffing all the time, and all he did is show the nuts.
But also that day
He
he must
came,
have-
he came in knowing, well, what happened that day is that very early on in the day, he started with over $1 million, which at that point was a ton
lot.
of chips, and he got all in with aces
Against
and got
kings.
them cracked by kings, and that knocked him from over $1 million to like 700,000, like right
Right.
off the bat, and then he didn't pick up, a lot of hands, and that, I mean, when you get aces cracked like in the first hour, that
Yeah, and he was
that
talking
hits
about it
you.
for a while, but I wasn't really thinking about the aces versus the kings at the time. I was just thinking, those sequins sure are bright on my eyes. He's wearing a sequin shirt, sequins
Right.
jacket, but it was actually a blessing for me having my intimidator lose half his stack. And
Yeah.
Right.
believe me,
Totally.
he's not so special that he didn't think about it. He was talking about it. No one likes losing with aces.
right.
Briefly describe the last hand of that day. Do you recall it? You were in the
Yes.
blind against Bertrand Gros-Bellier.
Okay,
and,
again,
and as
I-
a setup, you guys have been pals all day.
Palling around.
You're sitting next to each other, talking, laughing,
we're
smiling.
laughing it up, and as you guys joked around, that it's not like he can understand me, which I'm sure none of you guys can.
Right, very few
and I
people-
certainly couldn't understand
He
him,
speaks
but
in a tough French accent. You've got the super high nasally
Right,
voice.
but it was great.
Very tough.
and it's because I'm fluent in nasally French.
Yes.
and so is he. So
We.
we were having a good battle, even though I was just playing weak tight like always. And for whatever reason, they said his last hand, and it finally got to me in the small blind. He was a big blind, and I raised, and he called. I raised, pardon me. And
Small raise.
No, it was a standard raise right off the sim. I always raised 3 times.
Right.
And he called, so I was like, okay. And I think it came a pair, 2 tens and a jack, or 2 jacks and a 10. And I just
Exactly.
threw a chip out. And at this point, I was like, we're not going to play again together. This is the end of the day. I wasn't really
This is
trying.
a
It was more like,
$25,000 chip.
Right.
Like the
just a
small-
$25,000 chip. Of course, 30,000 is what people started with. So I was
Right.
like, here's a buy-in. And he called, and then I...
King on the turn.
King on the turn.
Okay, great. I threw another $25,000 chip out. He called. At this point, I was like, my 9-4 of diamonds isn't looking very good in this spot.
No diamonds on the board, or maybe one.
Well, there's hearts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
There's a hard
And
trump.
I
at
can
the
every
flop.
once in a
Red-
while convince
they're both
myself.
red.
Yeah, as long as you believe that your diamonds are hearts, then it makes it easier to continue the bluff. And then on the river, I decided it was another blank.
Yeah.
Well, blank for me.
And
And this time I decided to really step it up, and I put in 30,000.
I thought that was the
Right.
genius
This
because
is 25-25. Another 25
you,
by
right,
the week.
you bet so
30.
small and just upped it to 30, which looked like the super value bet where you're begging for a call.
Right, and it's so much different than I'd really play a hand, and I don't know what got into me.
You hadn't
And
played a
not
hand like
only
that all day.
So then he finally folded and said he had an ace. I don't know if it's true. And